Okay, so we've established that your nervous system is your master system. Now, your nervous system undoubtedly is extremely fragile, and I'm sure you're aware of this. You've got a brain, you've got the spinal cord, they need protection. And so your body spends a tremendous amount of resource actually protecting it. So when you take the brain, you've got a skull, and essentially your skull is made up of several plates. And you can think of it as a suit of armor, and it protects your brain. Beneath your skull, you've got bone after bone forming the spinal column. That runs all the way down to your pelvis. You've got 24 vertebrae. Each one of those vertebrae has 3 joints with the bone above it and 3 joints with the bone below it. So that's 6 joints per vertebrae in total. Now, the purpose of your spinal column is obviously for protection. It wants to protect your spinal cord, but it also needs to give you mobility. And so this is where there's a trade-off, because if it was going to be total protection and totally stable, you wouldn't have any joints. But then if you didn't have any joints, you wouldn't be able to move. So this is where the trade-off is. So they've had to sacrifice stability for mobility. Now, if you go back to the knights wearing the suits of armor, when those armors were brand new, they'd move, the knight could fight and defend and do all the things that they had to do, and the armor would protect them. But if they didn't take care of that armor would start to rust over, it would get harder to move, and eventually it would become more of a hindrance than an actual help. Because if the knight couldn't move at all, then all of a sudden they're vulnerable and they'd get taken out. Spine is similar. Over time, you start to develop adhesions and scar tissue and wear and tear and degeneration and decay within the spine. It becomes stiffer. It doesn't move quite as well. The bones start to shift out of line based on maybe repetitive tasks or even sudden trauma, and you start to get nerve pressure. Once you get nerve pressure, muscles tense up in that area, and the process tends to snowball and starts to stiffen up. So as a chiropractor, we've got a few different jobs. One of those jobs is to keep your spine in good health. Now, you don't have any grease nipples, you don't have anywhere where you can stick some oil. The only way we can make sure that your spine stays healthy and flexible and moving is by adjusting it, which breaks down adhesions within the joint, breaking down scar tissue and adhesions within the surrounding muscles, and giving you exercises where we can stabilize that. Next thing we need to do is make sure that you've got no nerve pressure, because within your spinal cord and your nervous system, if there's going to be any interference, it's going to come from that armor. If that armor gets out of line and irritates the nerve, it's to disrupt the flow of information from the brain to wherever it's got to go. So we want to identify where those areas are. We want to specifically adjust that vertebrae back into place to remove the nerve pressure, so that removes the problem that you've got with the pain or a reduction in function or whatever it might be. We want to address both those issues. So the idea, obviously, is to keep you in a line and also maintain your spinal health. And it's really no different to maintaining the health of your teeth. If you don't look after them, they're going to decay. The spine is no different. I'll see you in the next video.